What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about a nice little Titan combination build so y'all can take it into that new Vespers host dungeon, or really any type of endgame, but specifically those dungeons, because this is what we're grinding out for. That icebreaker, of course, trying to get that nice new exotic, but we're going to cover a nice little triple threat build that can take you through each encounter with ease for the Vespers host, starting out with our exotics here for our Titan. First off, we got the Synthoceps with biotic enhancements. When you are surrounded, gain increased melee and super damage, as well as improved weapon handling and reload speed. Definitely going to be using this for the first two encounters for sure, with those brigs, as well as that nice servitor that breaks apart into a bunch of different little guys running around. So this is going to be our main exotic for sure, using that consecration to its fullest potential. The other exotic we're going to be using for the final boss is that Curiass of the Falling Star. Glorious Charge right here greatly increases your Thunder Crash damage and grants you damage resistant after impact. Melee final blows, while amplified, grant us super energy, so super nice for us for the end in content. We're going to be able to get the super back very quickly, because we're going to become amplified very easily with our build as well, because of our subclass that we're going to cover in a second here. But the combination of these two exotics with the Prismatic subclass, just switching off some supers, using the same exact things on our armor pieces as well as for our aspects and fragments, going to be a super easy build that anybody can take in and just crush the Vespers host specifically, but really any type of dungeon type of content, end game activity. GMs, you might need to do a little bit of tweaking, but raids for sure you can get away with this. Alright, so right here is our Prismatic Titan with our fragments, aspects, and abilities. Now for our supers, for that first encounter with the brigs, I'm going to be using Twilight Arsenal. We should be able to get this back almost every single time that we go to one of those rooms, get the bombs to drop, come back and use it on a brig. Very easy to wipe them out with ease, especially with consecration and everything else that we got. Now for that second boss, we're going to switch to Glacial Crake right here. Absolutely disgusting for that, because it splits apart into a nice AoE damage area with the combination of our artifact as well as some of the mods that we have on here. This is absolute juice for that second encounter. And then finally, like I said, we're going to be using Curiass of the Falling Star with Thunder Crash for that third encounter. So that's all you have to do with switching stuff around based on the encounter that you go into, making it super easy, like I said, for anybody to try out this build. We're going to be using Towering Barricade with that Strafe Lift. This is a personal opinion. You can go with whatever you want. Personally, you got to go with Frenzied Blade right here. And for me, this Pulse Grenade super important, because one, it'll help with our Thunder Crash, getting that amplified, getting our super back, because we're going to have consecration on. That's why we have Frenzied Blade, so we can have three of these melees combination with Synthoceps or with that Curiass, and getting that arc jolt, everything going on is absolutely disgusting. Consecration is just nasty as well. Prismatic Titan coming in clutch basically on every single one of the encounters with that triple consecration. Now for me, I personally like knockout on this, just because for me, I'm using it to get my health back, especially if you're going through that master content, or like I was on the contest mode. Knockout was very good with getting my health back, especially in some of those last two encounters with the bosses, getting hit by a bomb, getting hit by one of those electricity strikes. Knockout definitely came in clutch, but you could use Diamond Lance if you want, just so you got a little bit more stasis synergy with our artifact that we got this season. Now for our facets right here, first off, we got Courage. So Arc, Solar, Void abilities do increase damage to targets affected by darkness debuffs. This will be a nice little thing that we can get with our stasis guns that we're going to be using, as well as a lot of the teammates that we have are corruption on stasis this season, of course, so that's spread. So our consecration as well as our nice little pulse grenade, going to do some extra damage, helping that out as well. Going to get jolt on that grenade when we throw it based on faceted dominance right here. Just another way that we can do a little bit of extra oomph on our DPS, etc., and just let it fly. Now we're going to be using faceted protection, of course, because we're going to be up close and personal no matter what, when we are using Thunder Crash or when we are up there with our Synthoceps. Getting that little extra damage resistance when we are surrounded is super nice. Facet of Awakening right here, rapidly defeating targets with light, darkness, super final blows to generate elemental pickups of the matching damage types. So we're going to be able to create a good amount of different stasis shards, tangles, ionic traces, fire spreads, void breaches, depending on the weapons that you choose to use. And then last but not least, Facet of Ruin, definitely super nice for those solar ignitions that we're going to get based on incandescent that we have with some of our weapons, as well as that triple consecration. Definitely super nice for making those explosions even bigger. And then when we do use our glacial crake right there, Facet of Ruin will help that become even better, making that second boss just become a easy one phase, if not a very, very simple two phase. Now for our armor mods and stats that we're going to be building out, resilience, recovery as number 1 with discipline, strength, trying to get our number 2 because we're going to get our super back pretty quickly no matter what with this build based on our exotics that we're going to be using. So even when I switch over to the other of having not Synthoceps here but Curiass in our exotic for our chest piece, these stats are basically exactly the same. I just think we go down to 90 in recovery instead of 100. But for me, I'm going to be using Solar Siphon just so we can get some more extra orbs of power. You can change this out depending on the weapons that you're using most and getting the most defeats with. I like having heavy ammo finder on because especially in that first and third encounter, having the heavy ammo is definitely clutch for getting some of those brigs down as well as that final boss. Now for this build, definitely like the impact induction, you could throw on something, what is it called right here, with heavy handed or something like that so you can get more orbs of power with the triple consecration. But I personally like getting momentum transfer so we can get our grenade melee cooldown back just a little bit faster depending on how much damage that we're doing with both of those in itself. Now for this dungeon, triple arc resistance, very good. I do like throwing that void resistance on for that second encounter for sure with the servitor, as well as stasis scavenger right here for the heavy that I'm going to be using, as well as what I'm going to be using as my stasis grenade launcher in my kinetic slot, if you will, with orbs of restoration, recuperation right there, Reaper with outreach so we can get our consecration back as well as create even more orbs of power. So very good little combination that we have. Like I said, no matter what, even if we change out our exotics right here, stats are very, very similar, just got to change up some of my mods. Now with the armor that we got right here, this is what I'm going to be using as weapon options. First off is the Lost Signal right here with our new hand cannon. I do not know how to say this, but I do really like this. You can see I've been abusing it with that 312 mountaintop as well, a very good option. Definitely switching these on and off all the time. Same thing right here in our energy slot. Sunshot is going to be used for the most part with the epochal integration as my backup for that, so I can use one of our exotics down here. For that final boss, going to be using Anarchy. Second boss going to be using Parasite. For the Briggs, going to be using the Verse Chill Inhibitor. Definitely a long name, but very, very good little grenade launcher that we have. And then Indebted Kindness with this option is my other combo, so definitely going to be using a variation of all of these depending on the encounter that we are going into. This would be my variation for the servitor. For the final boss, I'm going with this variation right here, and then for the Briggs, going with the good old classic variation of right there. Now, last but not least, we got the Apothecary Satchel with the mods that we're going to be having on. Nothing really too crazy about these. You can switch them on and off if you bring in some other weapons to do some stunning for champions, but we're going to be using one with Frost so we can get that Frost armor activated. We do a little bit of extra stuff with our stasis weapons. Wind Chill helping to get us to get that stasis Frost armor to proc. Armor of Aramis right here, our girl. Well, Frost armor is active, taking critical damage. Also lets us have a freezing burst. Definitely a nice little add clear potential, or add keeping ads at bay, if you will. Hailstorm right here, shattering those stasis crystals that we can get. If you switch to that Diamond Lance, you're definitely going to get these a little bit more, but definitely a good little option. Really, the most important ones are rapid impact, so we can get that reload speed of the grenade launchers, concussive reloaders, so we can weaken those enemies by using those grenade launchers that I showed you in our weapon options. And then the last right here, that kinetic impacts. This right here, getting that power grenade launchers to basically have of kinetic tremors on them, doing a little bit of extra damage. Definitely very good for that final boss, and even with the Briggs, the little bosses with the servitors, it can kind of share that little extra bit of kinetic tremors damage to each other. So I like this build. I've been using it consistently as my Titan, getting me through easy. Probably going to use this as my solo flawless build as well when I go for it this weekend. Got a little bit more time to grind out the full dungeon and really get that damage phases down for the bosses, but this is going to be the Juice Magoose build that I'm going to be using, this or a Warlock, because that survivability in the final room definitely gets a little bit challenging with just one single Titan, but not too crazy in my personal opinion. So hopefully y'all can try out this build. Titan Boy, Dungeon Destroyer, just like our Hunter was with that Star Eater scales. Check out that video as well. Definitely going to be up in the upper left hand corner at the beginning of the video. So really appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming back, checking out the channel. Got a lot more builds coming out, got a lot more god rolls coming out, got some more axe coming out here in a little bit, 40 days, little bit less at this point, maybe about 30-35. So again, appreciate all you guys for coming back. As always, check out the Discord if you would like and subscribe to the channel. Helps me out, helps the channel out, of course, helps to spread the love of the builds as well to the community. So appreciate you guys again. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.